Welcome back, friends, to the Soul Material Podcast, the podcast you cheer for and the channel you cheer for. I'm your man, the OGEO.
All right, it's your boy T-Bart, the Street Shark.
And right now, we're going to dive right into the brand of Reebok. Not only what they're doing currently, now that their Hall of Famers, Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal, have taken over from a administrative standpoint to get the brand back intact. We're going to dive into a little bit of their history as well, because hopefully Iverson and Shaq can get right back in line to what Reebok used to be, that Tony and I grew up on in the 80s and the 90s when they were neck to neck with the swoosh. So go ahead, Shark, take it away and let us know what you got back there, because I know you got the show and tell as always.
All right, yeah, Reebok coming back. Again, some of our loyal followers have known that in previous seasons we've, just taken time to highlight just specific brands and just do whole episodes about it. So we just thought it was time to bring that back and highlight Reebok. And then also, with the documentary series going on Netflix, just thought it was good timing to just put our spin on our experience. We really lived it. Reebok was really in the thick of things, especially in peaking in the 90s. And they were, as Shaq is, I'm actually quoting some of the documentary, where, Shaq, he's saying we were respectable number two. Like you weren't just a close and it was just a flash in a pan, like you for a dedicated moment in time, you're pumping it out with pun intended with the Reebok basketball shoes, not only with character like Shaquille O'Neal, but just, I'm talking like the Omni punts with, the Dominique Wilkins, and then with us getting in, D Brown in the dunk contest, the Reebok Blacktop series, and really get into, not Allen Iverson, and that was like one of the first lifetime deals that you're hearing about. And then the personality that he was, and then you had the Rain Man, Sean Kemp, and there were so many things going on, and that's just basketball. They had plenty. We talked about the Emmitt Smiths and the Frank Thomases, and for baseball, so they were covering so many different realms. You had the Nick Van Exels with the Blast, one of my favorite shoes. You had the big dog Glenn Robinson with the Reebok rails. Like we could do a whole nother episode on just auxiliary Reebok shoes. As a matter of fact, one of our staple favorites we've talked about in other episodes where we've talked about some of the technology associated with some of the Reebok shoes. So just thought it was fitting with Shaquille O'Neal coming back as the president for the basketball side, and then him bringing in Allen Iverson to be the VP as well. So they're looking for to sponsor some athletes, starting with the WNBA. Got the Angel Reese LSU connection, so that was that makes sense. And now a few more WNBA players like Dejanay Carrington of the Dallas Wings. She's officially with Reebok. But let's just talk about one of my personal favorites. Is the we got the let me get my boxes out too. We got that Answer DMX. All right, we got the Answer DMX. All right, this is a retro. Got the patent leather tongue. All right, patent leather accents on the side. But what made this shoe? This was when you had the the videotape promo where everyone practiced the spin dribble, throw it behind your back. You know what I mean? Like right before the air one takes, or in that direct to consumer marketing promos. This was the shoe. I still have the Slam magazine with this as the ad in the future where it was like AI versus AI, you know what I mean? So, but what I'm talking about here is the DMX cushioning technology. We compared it to some Nike Zoom, and just the feeling of the air pods really transferring back and forth. This is where I pause and say, shameless promo. You want to learn more about the DMX technology, go to our interview series. We'll let you pause really quick. You can come back to this video and watch our video with Xavier Jones. He's, helped do the retros, and he really breaks down how the technology works, why the retro models did not work the same way as the original models, and some of the things, fun things they did behind the scenes to discover what the differences were and the solutions that they put into place to give it some of the same buzz. Because Reebok helped support the WNBA. Shout out to Lexi Brown, daughter of D Brown, who I just talked about as well. So, as I show off, I'll kick it back to the OG to, talk a little bit more about the VP right now, Allen Iverson, and some of his impact with Reebok.
Yeah, talking about his series, man. His 1 through 5, I will say, will probably go up if you had to be in that era. You lived it. Um, it was right up there with any Nike signature shoe at that time, whether it was Barkley, whether it was whether it was Pippen, whether it was Penny, whether it was Jordan. You go to any sneaker store, any shoe store, Iverson was up there, and people lie, numbers don't. Numbers were what they were. So you'll see just as many people on the court or out in the street, because again, the fashion aspect, as Shark always talks about, the Iversons were it. So you can have them on the court, but at the same time, at least back then you could have them with your baggy shorts going down to your ankle
Oh
and your
yeah,
Iversons, and the no show look, the no sock show look. So again, a great time to be alive, man, in that era, man. But I cannot deny um, those first 5 or 6 series that came out with Iverson. They were sellers. The colorways were outstanding. And again, it was the time to be alive, man. So people were on the release dates for Iverson as much as they were for any other brand at that time, definitely. So when the retros come out, I know the price has gone up because of inflation and everything else, but it's still popularity is still there whenever a retro comes out. In that particular model you had, Shark, um, always strikes a chord with me because my favorite wrestler of all time is Randy Savage, and he had a custom one made for NWO. So you can go
yeah.
on YouTube or you could Google it, and you can see where he had his custom DMX Iverson for NWO Macho Man era, man. So I remember that vividly, and he loved that model. So that shows you just from sports to entertainment how everything across the board. But that was Macho Man's favorite shoe, definitely.
I love that you said it because there's actually a collaboration with AEW wrestler as well, and they used the Iverson model, and he had a little Killmonger vibes going on. So that's some of the colorways. So that you see how they're dipping into that secret sauce that you just really unveiled for the people over here. That's why we the podcast we cheer for, give that clarity over popularity. So you talked about the first model. So it wouldn't be show and tell, if I didn't show off the first model with the question, because it was the question, and then the next one, which was the 2, but it was really the answer. Is the before I show off this particular colorway, just that nostalgia of the first Iverson coming out. You had the legend of the pearl toe. You had the red pearl, because there was another red, but the red pearl, the limited Philly edition that made it to Maryland. But and then at the same time, the blue pearl toe, that was a big moment in time in 95, 96, around 96, where that pearl toe and the blue pearl, that's the Jordan crossover era, and AI really just taking over the scene. And then you saw people off the court, and then you see like Biggie and the Notorious B.I.G. and the Hypnotize video. Then you're like, wait, hold on, now you rocking the designer with the the pearl toe Iversons, you know what I mean? And you start, seeing them pop up here and there, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's stamped instantly, So just having this shoe, so this particular colorway is, AI is, really, invested in the next generation. So he has his own high school all-star game called the Iverson Classic. Shout out to Boo Williams. It's always hosted down in 757, the Hampton Roads area at the Boo Williams sports complex. I've actually been to the the beginning of the Iverson Classic, but more, he's had some camps and clinics that was blessed to be a part of. Shout out to Mr. Moore, his mentor as well. And we, the Iverson Classic, that's where you'll see like someone like Steven Jackson and some other former NBA players, being player coaches, and helping out the kids. So just showing you some of the details. And this one, from a few years ago, I got these around 2020-ish, has that Kente print from the Georgetown, Hoyas uniforms. And then you got the gray, black, navy, Georgetown colors. I just love the gold accents that you see on the logo action as well. Iverson Classic. Look at that suede toe box as well. Buttery. And you know why we love this?
Gum bottom. You know it.
The gum sole, ladies and gentlemen. All right. If you know, you know. If you're a loyal follower, you know we love the gum soles. All right. Definitely a guilty pleasure. So there you go. Reebok Iverson 1. All right. So we talked a lot about the VP. All right. But let's take a moment to recognize El Presidente. We did so many. Shaq. But I just want to show off my favorite Shaq, which is the Shaq Attack 4. All right. This is still our Orlando, the end of Orlando days right here. The Shaq Attack 4. You got the Shaq logo. The Shaq logo on the tongue. Just in case you missed it, might as well say have Pepsi in the side of it too, because this was around the time against the black. Like this, just look how at the '90s shoe. Like just look at the height on this one. First of all, and all the just extra large aesthetics. And it's not Reebok unless you can see that honeycomb in there, and you got the Hexalite. All right, so go on to our interview series as well to talk a little bit about the Hexalite as well. Again, window Hexalite. Nope, not real Hexalite. It's just for sitting on the shelf and it looking like it has it. This, yes, that's your Hexalite. It's inside. All right, you're not going to see it from from the outside. So that's a little tip. Go to our interview series and you'll listen to a little bit more details of what we just referenced there. All right.
Shark, that was one of my favorite balling shoes of all time because I patterned my game as a power forward. So many years I thought I was like Larry Johnson, the undersized guy that always liked being down low. And that shoe particularly felt like the lightness of a Hirachi, but it had the support of a high Air Force One without being heavy and bulky. And the feel of that shoe on the court, man, was absolutely awesome. So you felt like your ankle and everything was protected, being a big guy, but it didn't feel like you were wearing a bulky big guy shoe because a lot of materials that you are seeing is Hirachi like, so it's very light, very flexible, and just that shoe just really protected your foot overall. And I always had issues with ankles, so that shoe overall, man, I remember inside and outside, that was my number one balling shoe. The retro definitely, and if anyone, if you know, you know, every bit of maybe 10, 15 years ago now, that shoe went as low as 1999 because it just did not move. It was a point where retros really kind of sat and had a dead point. So some people out there that probably caught that shoe for more than a steal. But now, retro it now, they're going to go for whatever because of the popularity of sneakers. But a supportive shoe on the court for power forward centers and those that like going down low, definitely without feeling like you are weighed down with shoe, man. So it's an excellent shoe. So um, loved it, and again with the details, particularly with the logo on the tongue, and it was just so much of that shoe where you felt like your foot was just locked in the whole time without feeling heavy or bulky, man. So shout out to one of my favorite balling of all time. It took a beating, and trust me, outside court, man, like the Reebok Blacktop Series net shoe particularly took a beating outside, and it kept on ticking for a while. So shout out to Reebok for a wonderfully designed, wonderfully supported, and functional shoe, definitely.
Now, everyone knows, the Shark and OJ, we take care of our shoes or whatever, but we also wear them. All right. So I've actually just to talk about the durability and everything like that. I've worn these shoes, I don't know how many times. All right. I've worn them in multiple types of wear. And I'm telling you right now, within the last 6 months, I've worn these shoes at least twice. And somehow I ended up in bad weather both times. And one of them, I'm like soaking wet in the rain, splashing in puddles and everything. You see any signs of wear on that buttery suede up here? You know what I mean? It's not even a suede. It's just more like the way their nubuck is on the old school style. You know what I mean? Yeah. Did I spray some protector on there? Yeah. But that don't do all of that. You see how it's just, the OG told you this is Hirachi style. All right. Yeah, yeah, it's an inner sleeve in here, and that's why you get the lockdown. You could strap the back down if you wanted to, as well. And then, most importantly, I love, you had the pump on Omni lights, on the tongue and everything like that. But this, you have it on the side, so you even had the pump accessory. All right, that's how much this is nostalgia, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we are who we are, the Shark and the OG at the Soul Material Podcast. Because ain't nobody just breaking out the Shaq branded pump for the Shaq Attack 4s just
Indeed.
casually. All right. And these are real stories. Like, we really wore the shoes. We really had them back in the day too. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of my favorite shoes, favorite Shaqs. I like the Shaq Gnosis and everything like that. That had shock value. The Shaq Attacks, the first ones, just because they were the first ones, and it was just larger than life. But these right here, even the Lakers ones that had the hexalite and everything like that, those were, they had a lot going on. But this is my favorite, and it was the most durable. And to this day, they will get run from the Shark. But definitely had to show everybody, this is prime time nostalgia right there. The Shaq pump. Don't get no better than that. Like the OG said, what a time to be alive.
Indeed.
All right. So again, you can dive more into the business side, and that's we didn't want to just regurgitate those stories because that's what's actually in the documentary, to talk more about some of the business strategies that they have behind the scenes and just coming together, how their strategy for targeted athletes, and just re-entering the marketplace, getting new basketball models on the court, and then collaborating and just getting into reintroducing the brand to today's marketplace, trying to see how fast they can gain market share, and brand equity in between. Would love to see them tap into some more NILs, and getting, I would love to see their branded youth circuit come up a little bit more, because you got to compete with some of the other brands in that early fashion as well. And then maybe some alumni and other universities pick up the brand to support them, because we're from the era where colleges had all the different varieties of brands, and you didn't have two or three just dominating everything. So it was just pretty cool to see, multiple teams, the Xavier University, and then you see Felipe Lopez rocking the, some Reeboks over at St. John's, like those type of situations where, if I'm not mistaken, was Arkansas Reebok as well?
I
Uh, uh,
believe
Back in the day, with Nolan Richardson, Scotty Thurman, and Corliss Williamson. You know what I'm saying? So like Reebok was. I know Michigan State was Reebok as well. From way back in the day, Sean Reshford all the way to Mateen Cleaves and Mo Peterson National Championship in between. So Reebok has been such a staple for us, and then so a few generations has just been little lost of them just because it just hasn't been front and center for them. And but love to see that full circle come back. So as we wrap up, OG, got any final thoughts on Reebok, President Shaq, and VP Mr. Iverson?
definitely we are in an era in which vintage is now a thing. And one thing we have not mentioned, Shark, and you had to be there to actually witness, live it, know what I'm talking about. But Reebok apparel was up there as well. The windbreakers, the t-shirts, like so. Somehow, if Shaq and AI can get that back to where they can go into a vault somehow and kind of recreate, and the story is already there. They just have to educate and tell the story to a new generation. But there's a rich fine history with Reebok. And I'm hoping that Shaq and AI can get things back on par because, like you said earlier, a respected number two to where Nike really had to step their game up, like seriously, a respected number two. And then, as we know how the story goes, Bo Jackson comes and marketing and then this, but trust me, talking about neck to neck, eye to eye. So there's a lot of potential. We talked about this in a previous episode a couple of seasons back to where who's going to be that person that tells the story for Reebok. And now Shaq and AI is in place, and let's see what happens.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we don't get into the apparel, yeah, just those vector windbreakers alone. They had that would they might have been better than they might have had the best windbreakers for a stretch of time to be really honest, especially as a collector or someone who has some still in the stacks. My Reebok ones all you know survived the test of time and didn't thin out. That was really we're from the double mesh shorts, the real double mesh. So go back. That was an episode where we talked about the real double mesh, and yeah, we got the extra lined windbreaker nylon. So good reference as well for that '90s nostalgia and how authentic it is. So yeah, this was just wanted to take time to just talk about a particular brand that's back on the rise. Got some really hot talent, former real faces of the brand are back in the fold, and they're that effort for Reebok basketball. So can't wait to see more on the WNBA court, and then what new plans they have for the next NBA season, and maybe some guys in this upcoming draft, or some of the next faces of Reebok. We have to stay tuned. And Soul Material Podcast will cover, more sneaker business talk as we continue to give the people what they want. So wrapping up another episode of Clarity Over Popularity here at the Soul Material Podcast. The podcast you cheer for, the channel you cheer for. I'm signing off. It's T-Mart the Street Shark.
So next time, the OGEO. Peace to you.
Sneaker business talk. It's the Soul Material Podcast.